All right. Welcome back, everyone. This is Spittin and Chattin. My name is Zane. My boy Lane, how you doing today?
Man, I'm good, brother. How you been, man?
Hey, man, I'm good. It's a lot of things we got to come against and go up against in our work week, but
Yeah,
hey, we here.
yeah, brother. I know how
Glad
that
to be
is.
here. Glad to be here. So, man, we about to dive into this. I'm just going to tell you the title of this. It's called Put That Thing Away. And I think it's important to give y'all a little information and kind of backdrop on this. And before we get started, if you got some little ones in the room, you might want to just tell them, I'll see you in a little bit.
Get
Close the
lost,
door. Excuse yourself. This is a grown up type of conversation and
right?
spitting and chatting. So, but I'm going to give y'all a couple statistics on this
Mm,
information. Again, put that thing away. And we're specifically really talking to the fellas on this one. And you'll see why in a minute, because we have a big part of this process that we have control over. This is from the CDC, by the way,
mm.
Center for Disease Control. In 2023, over 2.4 million cases of syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia were diagnosed and reported. So STDs, I know this is not something we talk about a lot, uh, just in our culture in general. I know
Mm-hmm.
back in the days, Lane, like high school and coming out of high
Yeah,
school, like it was talked about a lot. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? You being in the medical field, why do you think it's not really discussed as much these days?
Man, that's a good question. Some of it, I think they assume that people are doing the right thing, but obviously we know they're not. And then the big elephant in the room talking about HIV and AIDS is not necessarily cured yet, but it's manageable. Like, you
Hmm.
don't see people dying from it anymore. So I think with that, they kind of just left everything else off to everybody else and just said, hey, if they're not getting that, then we'll leave that alone. It's not even taught to kids a lot to educate them on what can happen to them when having sex or unprotected sex. But it's
Yeah.
something that's missed with the education that we need.
Yeah, and that's why we're bringing this up, this topic on sex and really putting that thing away
Mm,
is a responsibility that we want to make sure that we are talking about more in a productive way.
yep.
We hear a lot of just nonsense, in videos and in music
Mm,
and things like that. But we need to really put a lot of light on how, as men, we can protect ourselves, protect our women, and protect the future children.
yeah.
That come out of these situations. Now, sex is one specific topic. We all kind of know what that is as
Yeah.
adults, right? But why are we coming from a place of put that thing away? Well, from our perspective and things that just we kind of want to dive into, it really comes down to, how do you protect yourself? If I could relate it from a man's point of view, if you know about firearms and things like
Mm,
that, there's safety precautions you have to take,
yeah.
and understand what you're getting into if you're about to fire a gun, right?
Mm,
If you're going to use a firearm, you need to know, like, for one, how it works,
yeah.
what's coming out of it, and what's all the consequences so that can come from once you fire that gun. And I think this is a big topic that's missing in our community, and we just shooting all willy nilly. What's your thoughts on that, Lane?
Man, male responsibility, male sexual responsibility is
Yeah,
like a forgotten topic in our community. And like you said, everybody just out there doing their thing. You hear it in the music, in movies, and everything. They
yeah,
promote sexuality.
yep,
I don't care what background you're from, is promoted. Rather, you're as a teenager, man, woman, whatever you define yourself as, sexuality is promoted. You see people kissing and holding in commercials now and stuff like that. But
yep.
they don't put out, hey, what can happen if you do this? They don't
Hmm.
talk about, fathering, children. They don't talk
Yep.
about, like you said, STDs. And that's the real world. That's the real stuff that happens. The movies, the commercials, and the music make it sound real cool. But like you said, we got to do a better job of accepting responsibility for what's going on in our communities and just protecting ourselves and our women.
Yeah. Yeah, and these conversations really, should not be coming from the school system.
Yeah.
This should be coming from fathers to sons, fathers to daughters, mothers to sons. But how crucial is it, from a father to his boy? Like that information needs to take place, or even just the father's perspective to his daughter. Like that information needs to take
Ooh.
place. I mean, I'm gonna tell you how I found out um, just about STDs. I probably was
Hmm.
like maybe 14. And shout out to my cousin, who's like a really, she's just like a sister to me. She even suggested this topic. But the way I kind of found out about STDs is she was going to nursing school and she showed me this book with all these graphic
Oh
photos
yeah.
of what sexual diseases
Yeah.
do to the body.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, like it didn't stop me completely, like from being,
Right. Right.
curious as a young boy, a teen, and stuff like that. But it definitely halted me like quite a bit because seeing what STDs will do to like your private parts, it is no joke.
Nah.
I don't know if
Nah.
most people have seen that, and they probably haven't. That's why they're running around here with the thing out.
Right.
You know what I mean? And thinking it's just cute to do any and everything. It's not like
Right. Right.
it's not like I know you in the medical field, so you probably have seen like some of those pictures in books
Yeah,
as
brother.
well. But it's
Yeah.
flat out disgusting. Is serious. People that are impacted by that. I'm sure it's terrifying. It's probably embarrassing.
Yeah.
But that's the way I found out about it is my cousin who's like a dear sister to me. Like she was going through nursing school. She knew I was getting to that age where I was curious. My dad didn't talk to me about this.
Hmm.
My female sister basically shared this information with me and visually was like, no, you need to look at this before you start
Right.
getting active. And I promise you that helped me because I didn't want none of that mess
Right. Right.
happening to
Right.
me. But, man, so that's why we kind of putting this out there.
Yeah. Man, I remember seeing some of those pictures, and I've even seen them like sitting in on like nursing symposiums and communicating, with nurses and doctors, and seeing some of that stuff, and it looking like cauliflower around
Mm,
people's genital stuff, and some of that stuff. What I mean is life changing. Like it don't leave. Some of it.
right,
Some of it,
right,
yeah, you get a shot, take some antibiotics or whatever they take, but
right.
some of that stuff doesn't leave. And some of it, like you said, it's embarrassing. So you meet yourself a young lady or you meet a gentleman and you like this person, but you got to tell them something. You got to tell them you got something. I mean, can you imagine what that conversation is like, hearing that or saying that to somebody? Like, that's like, man, what have you been doing? And then
Right.
it kind of shows like, man, you've been reckless in your life a little bit. You
Reckless.
haven't protected yourself or protected others. So what does
Yep.
that say how you will care about me?
Right.
And then some people don't even tell. They just, I'll keep it to myself and, it's not his or her business. And that's
Yeah.
even more irresponsible. But
Yeah.
man, having to have that conversation with somebody, man, that is like, and in the medical field, we always see that stuff and it's like, wow.
Right.
And people have to live with that. Some of those things, they have to live with it for the rest of their lives. And they have a flare up here or there. And the medicine may help just kind of keep it stable. But man, some of it lives with you.
Yeah, man, and I mean, man, this is something that's we know it's not talked about enough,
Right.
and it's really unfair, and it's flat out just. I mean, to me, it's like one of the most foul things you can do to an individual by not telling them,
Hmm.
by not disclosing that information, and that's why we're trying to have this conversation with the fellas, like put that thing away
Right.
because these like again, like you need to know what you're getting into like just one night stands and all that
Ooh.
nonsense that was a big thing back in the days, and we know is just going on today like recklessly and not really caring like who you getting in and out of the bed with. It's just reckless. There's too much out there these days,
Yeah.
and it's not like it's getting better. Like people are just either lying to you, people are not being honest, and like you said, the embarrassment. Like how many people are really truthfully going to just share those things, right?
Right.
Especially like if you are at a club, you're intoxicated, like you ain't gonna take the time to be like, look, I want to have this conversation. You know what I mean? You gotta like really think about these things and how do you protect yourself
Yeah.
in these times, just
Yeah.
because it's people are foul and there's just so much that you can do to harm your own self. And one of the greatest protections is just being abstinent until you know like what you're actually who you're actually dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that's not a popular topic for a lot of people. I know that that may be sound more traditional, but the reality is you do put your life in jeopardy when you don't know.
Yeah. And, abstinence doesn't have to mean from a religious perspective.
Right.
It doesn't
No.
have to mean, you can define it whatever you want. But like you
Right.
said, do you know what you're getting into with that person?
Right.
You can abstain until you're confident that this person is going to take care of you emotionally and spiritually, and this person is going to be 100 and honest with you.
Yeah.
And, a lot of men, they define their masculinity, they incorporate that with sexuality. And
Mm-hmm.
those are two different things.
Yep.
Being masculine, having self control, self awareness,
Yep.
and having, self respect of yourself, the
Yep.
main thing. A lot of guys, we forget about that. We think being a man and masculinity, we think it has to do with sex, and it doesn't. And, through the course of me being a dad and talking to my sons growing up, I've told them, I've shared with them mistakes I've made. And like you just said, you go somewhere with a young lady, you meet her, you talk to her, you go on a date. Man, I've heard horror stories about guys going out. And one thing I've learned, and I'll say this, a lot of people won't agree with it. As far as men, alcohol and women do
Mm.
not mix. I hear horror stories all the time. People have made mistakes. They've gotten judgment. Their judgment is flawed, or the word consent,
Mm-hmm.
is
Yep.
misleading when somebody is intoxicated. You or her, doesn't
Yep.
matter.
Yep.
Lives can be changed because of that, because you were a little tipsy or she was tipsy,
Yep.
and mistakes are made. Yeah, we're not talking about you going to jail. Maybe she got pregnant. Maybe you didn't
Yep.
protect yourself. Maybe, obviously, you didn't protect her either. But
Yep.
women and alcohol do not mix.
Yep. And that's why we have the responsibility, right?
Yep.
It's our key that fits the lock. So you don't want to go somewhere and you think you with Felicia and then you wake up with straight Freddie. Not gonna be a good feeling for you.
Ooh.
And that's your responsibility. You can't blame that
Ooh.
on nobody, right?
Yeah.
Felicia to Freddie in the morning. So I'm just saying, like, that is our responsibility. And again, we're getting a little older, and
Yeah.
we are just trying to help others, like, not go down some of these rabbit holes and not put your life in jeopardy. Your whole, being in a sense can just be distorted. Like I said, when I saw them pictures,
Mm.
bro, of I'll put it like straight pus,
Cauliflower.
cauliflower, rips and tears and
Ooh.
discoloration. And this is no shame, to those that have experienced it. We're just trying to protect those that have not and are maybe being too reckless at this point in their life, or if you're super young and maybe your father hasn't had that conversation with you and you wilding out.
Yeah.
Look, we just trying to help you, because this is not something you want in your life.
Yeah.
Like you said, Lane, there's some things that are just gonna be there forever,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. Just trying to bring
And
light to it.
you hook up, and like you said, with Felicia or Freddie, you can't blame them just because you got hoodwinked.
Mm.
You didn't take the time to get to know that person, and like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you thought it was Felicia and it's Freddie. And now you
Ooh.
got to look at yourself in the mirror, and one on one
Yep.
looking at yourself in the mirror. You can't lie to yourself.
You can't. You
You
can't
can't
lie to
lie to
yourself.
yourself. Can't do
Yep.
it. And that's your fault. Instead of
Yep.
you, like you said, taking the time to get to know somebody, seeing what kind of person they are, and
Yep.
respecting yourself. And
Yep.
man, I hear those horror stories all the time. And
Yeah.
it leads to other things. But
Yeah.
As men, we got to do better with educating our sons.
Yes.
I hear a lot of boys talking. I've talked to my boys, but a lot of guys haven't talked with their sons about stuff like that, about,
Nah.
mistakes they've made or the consequences of, yeah, the STDs, but having kids and
Mm.
then not knowing about the kids. And next thing you know, you're living a good life, think you're
Mm.
cool. Man, you get a bill for child support. And I've known guys who, in the medical field that, I've seen the checks, like that child support, that deduction, like FICA, state tax,
Mm-hmm.
SSI, CHISIP. That's what it was labeled. CHISIP, child support.
Ooh.
Man, and that's life changing. Like that's
Right.
for 18 years and then some. The kid goes to school, you still paying CHISIP,
Chizza.
you know? And
Chizza.
financially you're doing well and you get that bill in the mail. Ooh,
Yep.
being irresponsible.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this is a serious issue. Why? I guess I should ask you, Lane. Just and this is a question that if we can get answered also in the chat and all that stuff. Why is it that you think men are not having those conversations with their sons when they've been through it? You know what I mean? Or
Right.
they've seen it, or they know somebody that's, what I'm saying? We all know at least know somebody that has been
Mm-hmm.
impacted either through STDs or children, when they weren't ready, just different things like that. Why do you think that men are not having those conversations?
I think them themselves, nobody had a conversation with them. Nobody educated them. And so maybe they just don't have the education or the resources to relay that information to their sons. But a lot of them, like I said earlier, get manhood confused with sexuality. They think,
Mm.
oh yeah, they're men, they're young boys, they're supposed to be out there doing that, and
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to be out there, sleeping around and stuff like that. That's what men do. No,
Mm-hmm.
they're not.
Right.
That is not true.
Right.
Like you said about being responsible, and then you also have to be aware of certain laws. Like now, like you just
Mm.
can't put your hands on somebody, even
Right.
though you with her and you think it's cool, and you put your hands on that young lady, or you grope her in a way that makes her feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever go out with a young lady and you hear that word, oh, it made me feel uncomfortable. Ooh,
Yeah,
man, that
man.
could be, an uncomfortable feeling because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But teaching our younger, generation, and our younger men about keeping your hands to yourself, about responsibility, respecting her.
Yeah.
And social media has an influence. Movies, music definitely has an influence on our young men, and it doesn't help them think before they do stuff. They just see, oh, I want to, get some tail like this rapper does, or I'm supposed to do it like this. That's more
Mm-hmm.
influence. They're more influenced with that than they are hearing from what their father or their uncle or their cousins told.
Now, for all those that don't quite know what tail is, can you
Mm,
explain that to them, Lane?
man, it's like those words we had. We had the locker room talk, and
Right.
that's something, with guys that amongst us we do. Is it right? I don't know, but guys do it. Men do it. No, men
Right.
do it. I'm saying that. Is
Right.
that
Right.
talk that we should have around a woman or our mothers or our daughters? Absolutely not. It's just
Yeah.
something as men we do. We talk. We may talk about the first girl you kissed or whatever, and those are sometimes entertaining stories. But we know what we're talking about. We talk about tell, and some
Yeah.
of it, when you hear that word tell, it's not talking about your girlfriend or your wife. We're talking
Mm.
about like casual hookups,
Right.
that stuff that happens, one night stands. And those are the worst predicaments, I think, to be in sometimes, because that's a lot of times when those mistakes are made where you're careless and you didn't
Mm-hmm.
protect yourself, you didn't protect her, and you go to the doctor and you've been burning or
Mm.
itching somewhere, or you get that bill for the chisel.
Woo.
Casual hookups.
Man, I think it's important that we kind of make sure we go back to, like, one of our original podcasts was about
Mm-hmm.
mental health. Mental
Right.
health. And, imagine the road that a person, I'm talking about specifically for men, that we go down when we get ourselves in these situations. What is
Right.
a man's mental health like when he does find out now I have an STD? or man, now I have a child. I'm about to have a child. I'm not even ready for this, or I didn't want this. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
there's all these things now that you have to deal with. There's so many different variables now, and I think the mental health part, it's all connected. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And those are things that we don't talk about. Like, how's this going to impact you moving forward? Like, your finances. Are you going to be able to take care of a child? You
Mm.
know, how are you going to now take care of yourself with, if you don't have medical coverage and insurance, and you know what I'm saying? There's just like so many different variables to a man's life, and he may not be equipped to even get the help that he needs,
Yeah,
let alone like mentally.
yeah. Man, that's a road that some people go down and they're not prepared for. And having children, having, a son or daughter, that means I don't care if it was from a casual hookup or you're in a relationship or a marriage. That's your
Hmm.
child regardless of
Yep.
how connected you are with that woman, that's your child. And, for me as a man, I just, when guys are just out there and just irresponsible and not taking care of their kids, it's a lack of respect you have for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made a mistake with that woman. She wasn't the one you thought or whatever, but that child is yours. That child doesn't care about that. That
Yep.
child needs their father, needs their mother, needs stability in their life.
Yep.
And, for guys, some guys, I hear the stories and they're more concerned with the next one, the next hookup and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You just fathered a child, and your child could be here or there or another state or whatever, another country. What are you doing to make that child's life better?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did what you did, but what are you doing about it?
Yep.
And those are the conversations that we're not having with our younger generation. And other communities, you don't see these things going on with their young men,
Yep.
but you see it with ours, and you have to wonder why. Why is this happening in our community? And it hasn't changed much since we've been teenagers. And maybe
Yeah.
things have gotten worse because of social media, but it's something that needs to be continuously talked about.
Yeah, it does. It has to be continuously talked about. And just, with full transparency, like, I know there's like all of this kind of going back and forth about like the topic on abortion, right?
Right.
Men deal with stuff as well when it comes to that
Yeah.
decision being made. Like, and I'm just going to share this, but, as a youngster, like, I mean, real young, might have been just under 18.
Hmm.
Um, my girlfriend had got pregnant
Hmm.
and she had a miscarriage. Now, before the miscarriage, we were looking into the possibility of getting an abortion. And I'll never forget, man, all the guilt that I was feeling, like the weight of like, what am I going to do? I know I'm not old enough I barely have a job, barely could take care of
Right.
myself, right?
Right.
So how am I going to take care of this child? But the weight that I felt it was so discouraging.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was so and so I can't even imagine like going through with that process as a father now. I'm just saying
Hmm.
now, looking back, I understand why people do that and make their decisions, but I'm just saying now as a father and looking back at my young self, right? Because I was being reckless. And if I had to have made that decision, like it was just so much weight. So
Right. Right.
I share that to say that, man, you don't want to be in that situation where you're like debating or are you gonna take a life? Like that
Right.
is
Right.
that is not a good feeling. I'm
Right.
just speaking from a man's perspective. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to deal with all the political stuff out there, my body, your body. Yeah, that's all true. But at the end of the day, it takes a man to help produce that child.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
men have feelings and issues and mental stress and everything that comes with that when there's a decision that has to be made or if there's a wrong decision that's made.
Man, that's
Man,
an interesting topic or interesting thing to discuss is that do we have a say so when it comes to that? And like you said, it's somebody else's body, somebody else's choice, and absolutely that's 100% true. And working in the medical field, I can support that, but I can also support somebody's decision how they look at, like you just said, it's a life. And as I've gotten older, I began to more understand that a lot more. Like it's a life. It's, you don't know whether that life could have grew up to cure cancer or whatever. It's a life. And a lot of, like we said, a lot of this comes from just being, putting yourself in that position. We weren't responsible. And I remember, hey, growing up, man, we were out there, we were young teenagers doing our thing. I heard what you just went through. You know what I went through. I had a child right out of high school. And man, that was tough. And not
Yeah.
only did I have a child, I was a single parent at the age of 18. And like you just said, the stress of dealing with that, like before I graduated, I was in the process of, certain schools were looking at me, and I could not muster the strength to tell my mom or my grandparents, hey, this is what's going on. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what I was thinking. Like I was going to hide that and just come
Right.
home with a baby in my backpack. Like, hey, look what I brought home.
Right.
But, I was just scared of disappointing my family.
Mm. Right.
And man, I had to grow up real quick. Like I didn't have
Yeah.
time to think about it. I had to learn a lot of things on the fly. I had to learn how to sterilize a bottle. I had to learn how to change diapers, how, when he got sick, stuff like
Right.
that, real quick.
Yep.
Make sure the car seat is in the right direction.
Yep.
It sounds like,
Remember that.
well, when you're 18, that stuff doesn't come across to you as easy.
Right.
How to feed him,
Exactly.
feeding times. All this is real stuff that I had to deal with at
Yep.
18 years old.
Yeah.
Now, my son now, man, he's got his master's degree. He's doing well in life. Like the time
Man.
was put into him where he, made it. He made it and made it. Me and him kind of grew up together, because
Right.
I was
Right.
young. I didn't know much. I was 18. I was still a kid myself. But
Yep.
having him made me think about him before I start thinking about myself. And
Right.
he's where he's at today. And I owe not only my mom, but my grandparents, because they helped me. I don't know
Yeah.
where I would have been had I not had them,
Right. Right. Yeah.
but they helped me. And man, he's flourished in life and he's doing well,
Yep.
but I had to grow up. I
Yep.
had to grow up.
Yep. Man, that's why I got, I know the term, we give each other flowers, but
Right.
bro, I got to give you a crown because
Right.
man, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that, bro. I remember you experiencing that, and we were, it was a tough time, but you just rolled with the punches,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now seeing your son like just be who he is, and
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
having his own money, having his own just
Yeah.
kind of life and figuring out things, but having you as his father, man,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just it just goes to show like you don't know what that being, that life is going to
Yeah.
turn into.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we're speaking from now as adults, as fathers, being able to look at those decisions differently,
Yeah.
because man, that's a beautiful thing for you to be able to experience, although it was a struggle at that time, but to see
Yeah.
what he has turned into, man.
Man, you know what?
Your sons in general,
Just as you were talking about that, I forgot all that other stuff because as I
Yep.
remember, he was supposed to be put up for adoption.
Mm,
Because I was like, man, I'm not telling my mom or grandma or my granddad or my uncle this.
wow.
And
Man, I don't think I
I
knew
never
that.
signed those papers.
Man,
I never signed those papers. And yeah,
man,
soon when
bro.
my mom found out, she was like, hey, did you sign anything? I was like, no, I didn't sign nothing. She's like, okay, well then let's go get your child and you're going to take care of your child. And that was it.
Wow.
It wasn't no talk about
Right.
mistakes and stuff like that. And, I
Wow.
had automatically knew what had went down.
Right.
And there is a stigmatism with guys, having kids early. And not only that, just being a single parent. And
Yeah.
that word is kind of sometimes thrown around. I shouldn't even call myself that because I had help.
Right.
And
Right.
but his name was after me. He had my last name. He was my child, not theirs. So in
Yep.
certain instances where they were like, no, this is your child. You can't be going hanging out with Zane on Crenshaw. You take care of your son. You know,
Right.
life
Yep.
changed. If I
Yep.
go somewhere, I got to take him with me.
Yep. Yep.
That's how it
Yep.
is.
Yep. Man. But like I said, man, it's more brothers like you that need their crown, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because that decision that you made was not just, I mean, it was selfless, right? It
Yeah.
was that, I mean, that's really the definition of true love. Like you put yourself on a back burner, you have made a decision, right? Like I'm gonna take care of my child, you know,
Yep.
and a lot of men just don't make that decision. And but I know down the road, like they have to deal with that mentally.
Yeah.
Like, you know
Ooh.
what I'm saying? Like wondering, like, what is my child doing? Are they okay? And all that guilt, you know what I'm saying? There's gotta be just like this guilty feeling. I know if I had that just going through the process that I went through, just debating, but I didn't have to make that decision. So I can only imagine if you just know you got somebody out there, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or wondering if you had somebody because you just been with so many people. Man, that's just a mind like that's just gonna always mess with you.
And like you said, it affects your mental health.
Yep.
Not wondering, that child you had and that child's in wherever, are they okay? Are they, they have a roof over their head? Are they eating?
Man.
And man, I sometimes wonder, had I done that, man, that would have probably just, like you said, plagued me for the rest of my life, not knowing, where he's at or what's he doing or who he's with, what my life would
Mm-hmm.
have been like, and man, I made the
Right.
best decision doing that, the best
Man.
decision. And,
Yep.
it didn't stop when they got older. Man, I'm still like, I've learned
Yeah.
as, young men turn into men, they need even more guidance
Right.
because the likelihood of them doing something stupid, man, they need it even more. They need the dads to keep their foot on their necks even more.
Yep.
And, like you say, he's doing well and they're all doing well, but
Yeah.
it's been some ups and downs, but,
Of course.
man, I think about that. What if I had done that? Man, I don't know if I like living with yourself is an understatement.
Man. Man. Thank God you made that decision, bro.
Right.
Because it's a lot of people that don't, and like you said, trying to live with that decision down the road. I mean, we see this all the time or hear
Yeah.
about it. But imagine the relationship with trying to figure that out 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
And that child, let's just say that son has so much bitterness towards the father because he's like, man, why'd you leave me? Or why'd you just, leave me for adoption? Whatever it may be. It's just we hear about these stories all the time, and we talk
Yeah.
about broken homes and broken families in the past, but this is like the ultimate broken family
Yeah.
when you father a child and then you just not there, like period.
Man.
Never even met the child, not in the child's life at all, and then they grow up because they gonna grow up. You know what I mean? They go
And they
grow
gonna
up
feel some kind of way about that.
and they gonna have feelings, right?
Yeah.
And they can say, well, I didn't need him, whatever. They can say my mom took care of me or the streets took care of me. I never needed him.
Yeah.
But that we know that's just coming from a place of hurt and pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, let
Man.
me ask you a question because I hear this term a lot and I hear it a lot more. If I hear young men talking on social media and it
Mm-hmm.
has to do with this response, it ain't responsible, but they think this is being responsible somehow. They call it the pullout game, your pullout game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
What's your
how really?
pullout game like? You didn't have no pullout game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
You want my honest
What?
response? That's straight stupid. That's foolish because your pullout game is like playing Russian roulette.
Right.
You ain't gonna do it right every time. So I mean, that's just dumb.
Yeah,
Like,
pullout game. And I had to
yeah,
like do a double take. Like, did he just what?
yeah. I haven't heard that one, but that's the dumb. That's one of the dumbest things I ever heard of.
Man, they talk like this. Young
Nah.
men talk like this. What's your pullout game? You didn't have no pullout game. That's why you
Okay.
got this or got that. And so then I dug into it more and I'm like, okay, they're talking about in the midst of sex and men
Mm-hmm.
coming out, right before he climax or whatever.
Right.
And I was just like, man, I don't think some of them realize all it takes is, when we're talking about creating another life, is a little drop.
A little drip drop.
That's it. And in the
That's it.
case of getting STDs, your pullout game don't matter.
It don't. That's what I'm
It
saying.
don't matter.
That's why I'm saying that's just dumb.
Man.
Because like we talked about earlier, you took the safety off
Right.
and you already in the process. So at that point, you still open to fair game,
Yeah.
regardless of you thinking you pulled out quick. Bro, before you even pull out, there's stuff happening. Like
Right.
that's what I'm saying. That's
Right.
how ignorant. That's how
Still firing. It's still fire. You try to put a silencer on it and it's still fired.
it's stuff going on biologically that
Right.
you're not even aware of, right? Before the ultimate. So drip drops is already happening and you're not even aware of it.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that pullout game is you can that's trash.
Man.
Anybody listening to that, man, please stop.
Oh man.
Please don't teach your kids that. Please don't
That's
promote
one of the
that.
most ignorant things I've ever heard in my life. Like that's
Man,
what we're teaching our young men. And it's only
yeah,
young men from our community talking like that.
yeah. I bet.
You know,
I bet.
go figure.
Go figure. Hey, now there's one I guess bullet point I didn't want to forget, and this is again just for the fathers that I kind of want to put this out there. This is my personal belief, but stop being the condom supplier for your
Mm.
kids. You know, to me that's a mixed message. Like you're basically consenting. And I understand the rationale because I've heard it all my life. Well, if they're going to do it anyway, so I might as well give them a condom. Well, they don't need to get it from you. If they are going to do it, make them jump through every single hoop they need to jump through,
Yeah.
but not don't let it be like, all right, son, here you go. Here's a pack. I know you're going to do it anyway. Well, you just basically gave them your consent. I
Yeah.
mean, that's that's just the reality. I understand why people do it,
Yeah.
but think about what you're actually communicating when you hand them the pack.
Yeah. Just gave him a gun. Yeah.
That's pretty much what you did.
Yeah.
So please, like, just think through that. What's your thoughts on that, Lane?
Man, that is, growing up, that was a thing where dads would just give their sons or uncles give their sons, or nephews condoms because hey, they're gonna do it. Like you said, if they are going to do it, make them go the extra mile and be
Yeah.
responsible to do it so they learn. If they not gonna learn what you just giving it to them and knowing how important that is to protect themselves, they're not gonna learn. And like we said, it's just giving them a gun and just telling them to be irresponsible with it. I was thinking about something too, man, with all the news around Puffy or Diddy or whatever his name is.
It's Brother
Like
Love.
Love, right? Like I honestly think he's in a just emotionally in the stuff I was hearing during his trial. Like what? Like yeah, people do whatever they do in their bedrooms, or they have the right to do that. But man, he just lost all self control. There was no dignity for himself. Obviously, there was no respect or dignity for the women he was with. But
Mm-hmm.
man, like, yeah, money played a part in his fame and, being in control and thinking he was above the law, but his sexual desires just took control of him. His
Man.
sexual desires controlled his life and everything. And you see where it has him today. And, it's like, gosh, he couldn't control himself. No self control. And how do some guys get there? You can't
Right.
sleep with every pretty girl. And I told my boys this, you can't talk to every pretty woman you see. Your life will be miserable. It will be miserable. And like him, he's miserable. I don't care how much money he's at. He's incarcerated. He cannot get out until a judge says he can. Like
Right.
your freedom has been taken away because you had no self-control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be like Puff.
Man, the sad part about it is, you could be addicted to anything,
Yeah.
right? And from a male's perspective, we know that this is like our kryptonite.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this brings
100%.
down like kingdoms, nations,
It
like
starts wars.
it starts wars. I mean,
Yeah.
it will end your life like by not being controlled enough like in this particular area. And that's why we're having this conversation. We at our little level, you know what I'm saying? There's all kind of levels to this, like you said, just based on the fame, the money a person may have, the access you may have. I mean, the more access, the more money you have. Like things, if you ain't controlled, it's just gonna be exponentially like worse. So, from our perspective, we need more fathers, the uncles, the male cousins
Yeah.
saying, "Nah, youngster, like slow your roll. Like it's a time and place for that, but you don't just need to be out there swinging like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
put that thing away."
Yeah.
Like it's a time for that, but put that thing away. You don't want something before it's time, You don't want to hurt yourself or hurt someone else,
Yeah.
because that's the reality of it. There's so many parts of that puzzle that can be impacted, right? It's not just you at that
Mm-hmm.
point. Like there's other people involved, there's families now involved.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Like I go back to my scenario. If I had to be the one to tell my family and then tell her family, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot, man. So yeah, you got to
It
think past
shows
yourself.
that we gotta. It ain't just protecting yourself; it's protecting her as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And
For
if
sure.
you care about her, I don't care who she is to you. I don't care if she is just a casual hookup or girl you just met. Protect her anyway.
Yeah, for
Protect her
sure.
because she's somebody's daughter. And,
Man.
we have daughters now. And, thinking
Yep.
about this is even more just like,
Yep.
a little bit emotional because you think about somebody just kind of running over your daughter or something like that, or treating her like a casual
Yep.
hookup. And, man,
Yep.
dating a young lady or woman, whatever point in time your life is, when you know she's got that father at the house,
Man.
man, you treat her like something's coming back at you.
Yep.
Something's
Yep.
coming back at you because those girls with the dads, man,
Yep.
like you
Yep.
what they say, f around and find out, like,
Whew.
right?
Yeah, you don't want to find that out. You do not
Yeah.
want to find that out. That's a whole nother ball game of pressure and stress you do
Oof.
not want. And this is what kills me is I can understand when we're younger because we're trying to
Yeah.
figure it out, and maybe we didn't have a father that taught us these things, right? But when you become a father, you already know this mess. So it's like, why would you support or brag or promote? Like, just keep it going. Just keep it
Yeah.
going. Good job, son. Like, no, that's stupid. Like, why would you promote that when you know what can happen?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
It's
that's
it,
true.
it, it's just like, come on, especially if you have a daughter. No,
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't want that happening to your own daughter. So why would you like still be egging your son along? You know what I'm saying? The whole Mandingo thing. It's just it's like, come
Yeah.
on, we gotta grow up from that. We gotta mature like as a community with that.
And man, I was just thinking like this is something all men struggle with. It is
Yeah,
our kryptonite.
it
And
is.
we're visual creatures, and you've seen
It is.
situations where presidents have gotten in trouble,
Mm. Yep.
entertainers, actors, the
Yep.
most popular, greatest people you thought have been taken down by our kryptonite.
Yep. Yep.
Like, we're
Yep.
men, we're visual creatures,
Yep.
and sometimes some men lack self control in certain moments, and
Yep.
they let their urges and their fantasies and stuff get the
Yep.
best of them. And man, you mess around, you get impeached, or,
Mm.
you know,
Yep.
you get fired from your job
Yep.
because you didn't have self control.
Yep. It just all kind of things go wrong, right?
Yeah.
All kind of things go wrong. Don't let it be another married woman. Don't let you know what I'm
Oof.
saying. Then you got to deal with that
Oof.
husband, that person. So it's just
Man,
so
I,
many
I
dynamics to
hear,
this.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I hear stories about guys who are married, have children outside of their marriage.
Yep.
Like that is like
Yep.
how do you like wow. And it's late in
Yep.
the game. You in your 30s, 40s,
Yep.
and you have a child outside of your marriage. Like,
Yep.
man, and some guys is just like, yeah, I'll just send her some money. Like, man, how do you live with yourself like that? I mean,
Man.
life goes on. I understand that, but man, the twisting and the turning that must be going on in their guts.
Yep.
Come on,
Yep. Now you got a whole nother life you're
got
responsible
another
for.
family. Yeah,
I had a whole nother family, and you have all those complications and stress you just threw on your
woo.
own life. Like you can't blame nobody else.
It's
And that's the
already hard
thing.
for us, and no,
It's already hard just trying to do it the right way. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
Yeah.
with one person. So
Yeah.
and again, we not here to like judge nobody. We're not
Nah.
here to like make brothers feel bad. But if the shoe fits, just wear it. Like we got
Yeah.
to get better. You know what I'm saying? We got to get better in this area.
Yeah.
We got to talk about this more because it only causes more broken homes, more
Yeah.
stress, more mental health issues. Could cost you your life, could cost you your marriage. It's just too much, like you say, your job. It's just too much, like that can be impacted. And number one, let's just say this: it's never the child's fault. You
Mm-mm.
know what I'm saying? They didn't ask to be brought into this. That wasn't a decision. But when a life is born, that's a gift. But now it's your responsibility, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, man, I know we
Man,
could
this
talk
was
about this all day.
all day. All day.
We talk about this all day, bro.
Man, this is a good topic, man. We
Yep.
got some more good stuff coming up, but man, thank you guys for listening today. Please
Yep.
support the show, like and subscribe, and continue to support us. We need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. Spitting and chatting.
We out.